as we would love to take a photo of you just for our archives.
Certainly.
Wonderful.
Am I clear?
Thank you so very much. Moderators, please take a photo of Dr. Linda. Thank you so much. Okay, with that being said, our next presentation, Bringing AI to the Marginalized, challenges us to consider how artificial intelligence can expand access and opportunity in education and society. Presenting is Dr. Linda Meyer, Managing Director of IIE Rosebank College, a distinguished leader in higher education with an exceptional academic and professional portfolio that spans governance, operations, and innovation. Dr. Meyer holds multiple doctorates and degrees across law, business, and management from institutions in South Africa, the United Kingdom, as well as the United States. She serves on several national bodies, including the SACWA Board, the QCTO Occupational Qualifications Committee, and the CHE Community of Practice on Leadership and Governance. With decades of leadership experience from University South Africa and the Department of Justice to executive and academic roles across higher education, Dr. Meyer continues to be a driving voice for equity, access, and transformation in the digital era. With that CV, I'm very excited to hear you. Thank you so much, Dr. Linda. The floor is yours.
Thank you, and thank you so much for the opportunity. Colleagues, I will be doing a presentation today on specifically addressing the issue around AI and how we bring that to the marginalized. Now, we are acutely aware that within our construct and our, sorry, let me just, okay. Sorry, I'm just struggling here with the presentation.
No worries. Would you like to put it into presentation format?
Okay, let me just stop sharing and just try again. I think it's when I came for the photo. Okay, window, here we go. Share. Wonderful. I hope it's clear now. Apologies for the...
Absolutely perfect. Thank you so much, Doctor.
All right. So as I was saying, one of the key elements for us is that we're working in this evolving sphere of global advancement, but also this economic challenges that we face with our particular student population and the accessibility of utilizing AI tools to advance learning so that it becomes more democratized. So the important thing that I thought I would just discuss today is around our higher education landscape, because context is obviously always critically important. Just have a brief discussion about the challenges that we are facing in the higher education sector, the open source impact and operation, and then the pedagogical frameworks and processing that was utilized, the impact and the metrics, and the challenges, solutions, and future direction. So specifically, in the context, it's important that we understand within the higher education landscape that we have a particular ability to absorb a certain number of students per annum into our university system. So if we look at the class of 2024 that wrote grade 12, and we're obviously extremely obsessed as a nation with the pass rates, which I really argue is counterintuitive to what it is that we need to achieve as a nation around the quality metrics of students that we produce for the economy. So if we look at the 1.2 million students that started for this particular class that wrote in 2024, we see that 705,000 odd wrote matric and 337,000 passed with a bachelor's pass, a further 188,000 odd passed with a diploma pass, and a further almost 90,000 students passed with a higher certificate pass. What's important also for us to note with our student population and the disadvantages that they face through no fault of their own is that we have over 550,000 of the 705,000 students that wrote that are already beneficiaries of social grants. So we need to be mindful of this context when we then obviously translate this to the higher education sector. Now, when we move on to the size and shape of the sector of the university and the public higher education sector. And these are obviously only the largest providers. There's some providers that have not been included. We see that the largest provider, obviously in the distance mode, is UNISA with just over 380,000 students, Tshwane University of Technology with around 62,000, the Independent Institute of Education, where I'm from, with around 61,000, then it's Stadio, and then it's the University of Pretoria. And so obviously we cascade into the different size and shapes of the particular institutions in our country. What is important to note is that private providers are taking up large representation throughout this construct. Now, when we look at the public university sector, we understand that we have around 1.35 million spaces. That makes up the entire public and private higher education sector. The university sector does around 1.1 million and has around 210 first-time places, for F10, first-time entering student places across all universities. And I've just depicted the gender split in the public universities, which is around a 60-40 split, and then a 70-30 split in the distance mode. Importantly, in our universities, not quite there, but well on our way, our student population is represented at around 78.8%, colored underrepresented by about 5.7%. That's obviously the most populous group, a second most populous group in South Africa with over 10% population. And then we have 3.8% for Asian and 10.8% for the white population, which is around 7% of the demographic of South Africa, so slightly overrepresented there. Now, the public higher education sector is already making up more than 20% of the market. And if we look at those numbers, we know that they represent well over 300,000, which I'll get to shortly. What is important for us is that we have these students that are entering our system, but they are not equipped adequately. So where students have to get 30% to pass in their matric subjects and 40 for languages, we see that our throughput rates and our dropout rates are excessively high, and we do not compare well or favorably globally. So if we look at these undergraduate rates, only 30% of undergraduates complete their qualifications within the expected time. Approximately 40% of our students graduate within 7 years, and postgraduate completion rates are even lower. Now, our dropout rates, depending on what the program is that the student is studying, our dropout rates are about between 25 and 50%, depending on the institution and the program. Additional compounding issues are obviously financial pressure, and research that was done by USAF shows us that students that are on NSFAS actually fare better because they don't have this added burden of financial pressure. And also a key metrics is around the academic readiness. So many of us know who are heading up institutions that students come to us and they don't have the basic numeracy, literacy, business communication, etc. Skills that they come with. Now, I'm a strong advocate that tuition should happen in the language that a student chooses. So if somebody wants to study in isiZulu and there's a regional proclivity for that particular language, I do believe that that should happen. In France, students are taught in French, in Germany, etc. And English is not the metrics of intelligence. So we really need to start looking at elements for students that are at risk, but also how do we enable the environment to truly speak about, when we speak about a transformative curriculum and a transformed curriculum, what is it that we're actually saying? Around 60% of our students do not complete their qualifications at all. Now, we must understand as taxpayers, we have NSFAS that caters to a large volume of our students, and we can see predominantly those that are already coming from SASSA beneficiary households when they write matric, and they then come into our system. Now, the important thing is taxpayers are funding this, and the very taxpayers that are on the margins, just at 361,000 Rand or above, the very people that are paying tax are unable, their children are unable to utilize the NSFAS benefits that are offered. So it's important that we start focusing on this throughput and dropout rates in South Africa. and that we start focusing on the things that are important to ensure that our students are capacitated so that they can be set up for success. And the investment in these at-risk programs need to be accelerated. So certainly when we look at the throughput and dropout rates, just how we deepen this for our first year attrition, the discourse around this and how we start investing in this, we must be mindful of the empirical evidence that underpins where the investment is going and how we hold the system to account. Now, I've already said in the private higher education system, the growth is between 6 and 7% per annum. And we know that in the public higher education system, that's around 1.5 to 1.7%. But there are institutions such as Rosebank College, where I am from, that is growing at almost 30% per annum. Eduvos, another private provider, growing at about 20% per annum. So we see that there's this exponential growth that is happening, and more students are obviously participating in the realm where there is spaces available. So this brought us to what the topic of today is about, and this is the launch of the Rosebank College YouTube AI channel. So it's an academic channel, it's open source, it's available to all university students, and we do see that we have participation rates from far and wide, from Europe, America, a lot of Africa, and then South African students. So these are AI videos, AI generated through Synthesia, where we use these AI avatars, and we started with the first iteration, version 1, and we are already on version 8. And we are working with the developer to really ensure that there is a lifelike, a human-like likeness to these AI videos. Now, we do a lot of research, empirical research, as we've rolled out this project. We've invested to date over 30 million Rand on this particular project. And we have a team of 14 graphic designers that work on developing these particular videos. They have given us, and I'll share the statistics shortly, they have given us great insight, but they have also assisted our students. So I always say to our academic staff that our students often have to pick between taking a taxi and eating for the day. So this is really what motivated us. And these AI videos are really, something that we are expanding into all 11 languages, and we'll also be doing it in sign language. Currently, we have multilingual tutorials in English, Afrikaans, and isiZulu, primarily because our student population, we have a student population in Rosebank, which is 96% African Black, and Afrikaans in the B.Ed qualifications often is a subject that the students pick and not something that they are as familiar with. So we've really invested in those particular areas, and we've seen the absolute benefit that has brought to our students. So we've created over 6,500 AI enhanced tutorials covering 186 academic modules. And this is, as I said, open source. You can just Google it, YouTube, RC academic channel, and please, we encourage everybody to please support students through this. And our rationale was to shift from equality to equity, to promote digital inclusion that is free, flexible, and accessible through specific learning resources that we invest in, to empower working adults, our rural students, and differently abled learners through self-paced visual auditory instruction. Rosebank has over 35,000 students on its particular campuses. Of that, around 15% are in the distance mode and the rest are in the contact mode. And we've seen that we've fostered this cross-institutional collaboration by sharing resources as open educational resources. The pedagogical foundation is grounded in Meyer's multidimensional learning theory, cognitive load theory, and constructivist learning, promoting active learning through dual channel engagement. Now, the impact has been that we've enhanced engagement and academic performance, not only of the students, but also of the academics that obviously have to write the scripts, have to moderate the scripts, have to participate in their particular faculty boards in signing off the particular content that is developed. It has also reduced support queries and improved consistency in instruction, and recognition across our organization that is driven by innovation and social impact. So this technology can really advance educational justice, and we have empirical data now to underpin this, our open source learning, and the vehicle for equity, inclusion, and empowerment. So this is the channel. Obviously, for the sake of brevity, we don't have the luxury of going through the particular videos today, but the presentation will be available. Please feel free to go onto the YouTube channel, and all of the resources are categorized by particular qualifications. Now, there's a scope of qualifications that we obviously have completed. We add videos every day as content is developed and signed off and approved to go into the repository for students to access. So this is just a summary of the videos that we produced, and we've also concurrently run empirical studies in contrast so that we can evaluate studio recorded lecturing by actual lecturers versus the AI generated content and how that is engaged with. Now, we run focus groups continually on particular iterations where students can pick the faces of the AI generated content, the presenter. They can pick the language, because we obviously have South African. As we're working with Synthesia as the developer, we are adding other vernacular languages and constructs as we deepen our knowledge in this environment. So really, this is just a reflection of what we see as equality and equity. And you can see that when we speak about equality, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's equity. And that is what we're driving for: equity of provision, equity of transformation within the curriculum. So I know that I'm chairperson, that I'm on the verge of running out of time, but really just the impact that we've seen. And I will just go to the slide that demonstrates specifically what our impact has been. So on our key metrics and our analytics, we can see that we have had almost a 20% improvement in our success rate. And this is obviously with our, not the module success rate, but with the formative assessment rates. We've seen an increase of 20%, which is huge. Our partnership initiatives that have advanced through this, our subscribers are now over 12,000 in our launch in the last 3.5 months. And our videos is obviously well on its way to 8,000 videos. And our intention is to have all modules, all learning outcomes from undergraduate to postgraduate qualifications, where this additional teaching and learning resource will be made available to students. And we have obviously had some challenges, and these have been resistance to the synthetic avatars. But what we have seen from iteration 1 to iteration 8 is that the human likeness has advanced to such an extent where it really is very difficult for the naked eye to pick up. In the first iterations, we saw gasps of air demonstrated on the facial reflections. We don't have any of those paradigm challenges that we faced with the first iterations. And we really have invested time in change management, working with our students, seeing what works, what doesn't work, and having this custom visual aids and simplified scripts to improve clarity of provision. So really, our recommendations, just for those that participate in AI-generated content, and we're very happy that if anyone wants to meet with our teams and go through the learnings and the software and all of the AI content generators that we use, because we have a basket of software that we have underpinning all of these activities, is to start the project small, to invest. You cannot do this if you do not have the financial resources available. We have committed 100 million rand to this project. And certainly it's obviously ongoing costs, but we want to see this as successful and something that we are absolutely invested in for our students. Multilingual versions brings a much higher absorption rate. So our future direction is certainly to capitalize on all of the learnings that we've made, advance as new technology becomes available, to bring that into our environment, We want all of our content in all 11 official languages and sign language. And this is something that we will build. It will always be open source. It will always be available to all tertiary students and academics that want to make use of this resource. And with that, I will stop here and take any questions. Thank you so much, Program Director.
Thank you very much. That was, sure, a lot, but very fascinating, something that I'm very deeply interested in. I see that we already have a question in the chat. John has asked, what is the back office support and resourcing required to implement and sustain this?
So that is an excellent question. So what we've got is we've got a team, obviously, of individuals, ICT specialists that run the back office of this, but we also have a team of graphic designers, content developers. So the entire team that I have working on that with part-time academics, we have some full-time academics, but with part-time academics, the project size is around 86 individuals because it straddles across several faculties. But if John is interested, I'm very happy to put him in touch with our Chief Technology Officer that can sit with him and speak about the phased rollout and which particular positions need to be filled at what interval, and the project plan that we obviously scaled and implemented. I hope that answers the question.
That's fascinating, actually. It's wonderful that you're able to have such a big team. I see that John has a further question. He's very excited that he'll be able to talk to you, but he would also like to know, does this reduce the hours or the need for lecturers?
So the development of the content, obviously, we see this as a learning resource. So we are primarily a contact provider, but it does allow for students that don't want to attend class where there is not a prescribed minimum, for example, as the B.Ed qualifications, where they can go and watch those learning outcome videos. Our cost ratio hasn't changed. This we are seeing as a learning resource. And the primary driver is to deal with students at risk, students that miss academic content, students that can use this as a resource to really enhance and prepare for exams, assessment sessions. So I wouldn't say that we necessarily, our focus is not on reducing lecturing time, because we're also mindful that students learn differently. And we need to understand those that are more self-directed, those that really need classroom time, but the investment we can see in the formative assessment success rates. So this certainly is very, very important to us and the driving force behind why we are doing this.
Wonderful. I think that explains a lot. I was actually thinking to myself, this is a very modern, a modern take on, when I was in matric, I had to go and attend these math sessions by the gentleman who used to do maths on TV. And this is actually such a wonderful opportunity, because there you had to have transport and you had to have accessibility to be able to go to these sessions. Now you're absolutely bringing it to everyone. So that leads me to a question that I actually have. So this YouTube TV project clearly balances technology and pedagogy, as you've said, to achieve equity. And I love the fact that you're using the term equity over equality. And that image that you showed was incredibly important to show the difference, why equity is so much more favorable than equality. But how might this framework be extended to include community-based content or additional African languages? I know that multilingualism is something that you've brought to the table as well, but especially ensuring that AI-driven learning not only enhances access, but actually preserves the cultural authenticity and local identity.
Yes, absolutely. So with the AI content, we have worked with the developer where they now have South African accents in all of the development. So if you'll look at our Zulu videos, you'll see that there's a white person speaking Zulu, and he actually speaks with an English accent. And the Zulu presenter that we have doesn't speak with any accent. So when it comes to the local communities and respecting the cultural nuances, I think we are astutely aware of that. And all of our focus groups, all of our academics have that in the back of their mind continually. Now, our community responsibility is the very fact that we have made this open source and available to anybody that has a Wi-Fi connection and can access the content through their phone or through their particular device. If we wanted to, we obviously could have had a closed channel only for our students, but we see the larger benefit to the entire higher education community. So there are some homogeneous challenges, obviously, that we need to overcome, but certainly the investment. Our next big project is going to be where all our content is going to go to isiXhosa, and we will then move on to Sepedi and all of the other languages as we frame this to enhance for our students, because many aren't English first language speakers. And I'm one of those people that am not adverse to AI. I'd rather tell a student doesn't have English as a first language acquisition expert to do their assignment with AI and then hand in their AI assignment with their actual assignment, because often it is utilized as an English tutor for students that don't understand concepts. And this deepening of making use of technology is something that we cannot avoid into the future. We have to be mindful of our context, the evolving world, and also how we capitalize on all of these opportunities for the best learning journey through these teaching and learning methodologies that we embrace.
Absolutely. Sure. So inspiring, especially with me. Even though I'm a learning designer, I'm still heavily involved in teaching and learning. And I must say it's something that I've tried to bring into my classes as well. I want to say that personalization and remembering that just because I'm English and just because my students are speaking English with me, it doesn't mean that it's the same. I think that you're doing wonderful work, and I just want to thank you so much for your presentation today, Dr. Linda. I see that John will definitely be in contact, and I think many of us will be in contact with you just to find out more. Please, would you be so kind as to share your contact details once again, or at least in the chat? Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you so much for the opportunity. I've just popped it in. Please feel free to reach out, and we'll gladly share all of the learnings. Thank you, colleagues.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Linda. For everyone still in the session, please take note that we will be moving into a small body break, a very small body break. In fact, the body break is done. So we'll be moving over to our next session,